there is another presentation that is very timely because it's about a recent study that was produced by the Committee of the Region in partnership with the United Nations Tourism, and it's about it will support us in framing even better the debate that we are having today, tourism and rural development, a policy perspective. And to do this presentation, we are honored to have Radim Sršeň with us, a member of the European Committee of the Regions, who is really making the time to be here. I know you have to run. We saw you that you are really on the move. But thanks a lot, Radim. So please, the floor is yours to tell us these key results that emerged from the study done by the Committee of the Regions and UN Tourism.
So good afternoon or good morning still, at least in the Czech Republic is still morning, and greetings from Czech rural areas. I am on the move because we have different celebrations of the end of the Second World War, and so I'm moving around and also to Prague. So sorry for being behind the steering wheel, but it's a great pleasure to be here. As I have seen, there is 110 participants listening, so this makes this topic to be really important. And as I've seen those amazing examples just recently, it's really very important. And we also acknowledge that as a Committee of the Regions, which is the body of European institution composed of mayors and governors of the regions all over Europe. And I must say we have a lot of them coming from very touristic regions, and tourism is one of the very important topics. And it's my great pleasure to present here also the findings of the 2024 study on tourism and rural development. As it was mentioned by Patricia, it was a joint effort between the European Committee of the Regions and UN Tourism. And we are happy that this collaboration continues also with a second action plan. So it shows how committed we are to shape tourism that works for communities, not just for visitors. This is actually also in line with, of course, European policies, long-term vision for rural areas, and also the European Green Deal, reshaping our economies. Tourism we see that the tourism can be a bridge between ambition and action, and especially in rural areas. This is something which is also important with regard to the Rural Pact. I think it's very important, and I must say, as a chair of Rural Pact Coordination Group, that the tourism sector is very active. Klaus Early, who is probably also here, and others. So we are really trying to put it into the mosaic, because I think this is the crucial, so that all the sectors operate in areas and they make a mosaic of successful development and making the rural areas to be vibrant. It's far more than a leisure activity. It can breathe new life into villages. It can help to diversify economy, because rural areas are not just about farming. And also, of course, it could be activity which is combined to farming and bringing value added of farming. And they, of course, can create jobs for the next generation. Of course, what is important, it can also support public services and quality of public services, and boost the market for local products, and even to protect natural and cultural heritage. Let me share just a few of the key findings from our study. First one, rural tourism is already a vital part of the EU economy, and it's growing. Tourism accounts for more than 5% of GDP and of European economy, and supports over 12 million jobs. Rural areas which are covering over 80% EU territory and is home of nearly a third of its populations, are increasingly attractive to visitors looking for authenticity, sustainability, and a slower pace of life. From mountain trails in Alps to coastal villages in Portugal, rural destinations are really drawing both domestic and international interest. And this is something very important also with relation to COVID, because the post-COVID trends a little bit changed, because usually now we have longer stays, we are much more using off-season visits, and we prefer crowded destinations. So this makes rural tourism even more relevant. And secondly, it shows that even during COVID, that especially rural tourism is far more resilient, because all the people were looking to their backyards where to go, and this brings also the interest of people to around their houses in their countries, not just traveling to the famous destinations. Second key finding: tourism can be a powerful engine of rural development if it is properly managed. Um, our study highlights some very good examples where tourism has revitalized the communities. We have heard also very nice examples just a while ago. So, for example, I can mention Poland and Sarnov regions, when wine tourism project connects vineyards, local users, and agri-tourism providers, building a strong brand and creating value for the whole community. Or in Ericeira in Portugal, surfing tourism coexists with a strong commitment to sustainability and marine conservation. Or I can go to Spain, Linares de la Sierra. Tourism has helped to slow the population and fostered a real sense of local pride and participation. These examples show very well that when tourism is community-led, locally rooted, and built on partnership, it works. But third, and this is essential key finding, we must also be honest about the risks. Tourism is not a silver bullet. If it is not well managed, it can lead to environmental degradation, risky rising housing prices, a shift from the traditional economic activities like farming. Some communities may even lose their character of face infrastructure. So in short, we must avoid replacing one set of problems with another. And over tourism, it's a big topic we are dealing with also in the Committee of the Regions. And even in rural areas, it is real. So we have all heard the stories of villages transformed into open-air museums. Of course, what is very difficult and very risky is also the short-term rentals market. Very often, the locals just moved from their houses and made some kind of business out of the places. So this is really important to mention. And our study also offers concrete recommendations to manage this risk. For example, to invest in transport and digital connectivity, because without access there is no tour. To support upskilling and vocational training, so that the locals can take full advantage of the opportunities and also are aware of the risks. Promote data-driven, so we understand both the benefits and the burdens. And finally, to embed the tourism in broader rural development strategies. Don't treat it as a standalone sector. And this is, I think, very important issue to really put it, as I mentioned before, to the mosaic of a local development. And the fourth, funding exists, but needs to be easier to access. So this is the fourth finding of our study, because there is no single EU budget for rural tourism. We counted 14 different programs which can be used, from European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development through cohesion programs and social funds. I would like to mention also, for example, local action groups and leader program playing a very important role in developing of rural tourism through different grants, but even establishing destination management, different products, local products, etc., branding. So this is important, but sometimes to get for funding is too complex, especially for micro and small enterprises, which make up nearly all tourism businesses. So what is very important is to simplify the possibilities to get to funding, a more tailored support for micro enterprises, and more visibility for successful initiatives. If you want the rural tourism to thrive, we must make sure that the smallest actors can participate fully. So, where do we go from here? This study makes one thing very clear. Rural tourism can contribute significantly to Europe's green and social transformation, but only if we plan, act together, and place local communities in the driver's seat. That's why the work of the Rural Pact Coordination Group is so important, as I already mentioned. The Pact offers a space for cooperation and co-creation. It brings together regions, municipalities, civil society, EU institutions, with around just one shared goal: strong, connected, resilient, and prosperous rural areas. And tourism must be a part of that conversation. And with this study, we now have a strong evidence base, inspiring case studies and concrete policy recommendations to help guide that work. Let me end with this. Rural tourism is not just attracting visitors, it's about building futures. It's about helping young people see a future in their village, and it's about preserving traditions and landscape in a modern, sustainable way. It's about making rural areas not only places to visit, but places to live, work, and thrive. Let me end with this, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Radim, for bringing some key insights for this study. There are some comments on the chat that yeah, local action groups are mentioned as key supporters for local projects. I don't know if you would like to take a minute to comment on that. We will need to say goodbye to Radim in just a couple of minutes because as we saw, he's really in the move. But we do have 1 minute, 2 minutes if anybody would like to take the floor based on these reflections. Otherwise, we also have we have shared in the chat. Meantime, I see if somebody wish to take the floor. We have shared in the chat again the access to this recent study, as Radim said, evidence-based ways of moving forward with concrete examples that have support revitalization in rural areas thanks to the involvement of the communities.
Maybe just to the local action group, if I can say, yeah, yesterday we have been discussing that in Brussels, that they make really enormous job, and we need to keep their funding, and not just from agricultural fund, but we need really to make sure that there will be multi-funding, because if we need to cover the challenge the rural areas are bringing, including support of tourism, micro businesses, we need really multi-policy and multi-funding approach. So it was by the people from DG Regio how important it is, etc. But it's a lot of talks, and finally, when you come to the results, it's not that nice. So we are really fighting. Also, launch declaration. I'm very happy. So it's the tourism organizations, so where we really support the literacy LLD as a tool, as an important tool development in rural areas. So yes, we will keep fighting together with all of you, and I hope this will work, because as I mentioned yesterday, we have two options: either we will modernize rural areas and make them to be attractive place for people to stay there, or we can make a strategy as in US. It's called smart shrinking, that they are shrinking the rural areas. It's like a patient being on the infusion, and dying, but we don't want those rural areas. And in Committee of the Regions, we made last year a study on a non-rurality, how much it would cost if there's no rural development, this funding, and it would be much more expensive. So I am for the first option, and of course, tourism bring a lot of possibilities and challenges.
Yes, thank you, Radim. And the access to funding for micro and nano enterprises that are the majority of the sector has been already brought up as a key challenge by several of the speakers. Very briefly, Anne, I would like to give you the floor before we move on to the next part of the program. But you've been very active in the chat, so I think at this stage, if you can just take 1 minute also to please make your point with us.
Thank you, Patricia. I'm Anne Rietman from a Danish local action group in the northern part of Denmark. And it was just, I noticed that many of the mentioned projects today have been supported by local action group funding. And we have these days, actually today, I think the hearing stops, where we can give input to why we consider local action groups important for the future investments in the European countries. So we all submit arguments for continuing to give funding to local action groups in the coming budgets from 2028. And actually, I would just encourage you all to send love towards the local action groups, because they actually do a lot of difference with their local partnerships and their whole focus on bringing bottom-up development to rural areas. And I'm sure you all know about local action groups, but if you don't, you should look into it, because it supports everything that's been talked about today on local ownership and local entrepreneurship. And our funding can support as well small businesses as a common project. So it's a kind of unique way to do rural development. And we have very small funding and we do a lot of difference. So it's just a huge wake up to everyone to remember to support the local action group, locally.
Thank you, and to share the experience. Yes, I think there was also in the chat some comments about the petition that LR has been also circulated, advocating towards this that you were mentioning, and that Radim was mentioning. So thank you for bringing it up in the debate.